There is only one place on this earth where digging is against the law. Not one country's law, everyone's law. In December of 1959, 12 nations, rivals, enemies, nations pointing missiles at each other, signed a treaty about one continent. Today, 54 countries enforce it. No military bases, no weapons testing, and after the Madrid Protocol, no mining, no drilling into the deep rock, anywhere, on a landmass twice the size of Australia. Now here is what should keep you up tonight. More than 2,000 years before any human being laid eyes on Antarctica, a book described a place at the ends of the earth, a place the writer called chaotic and horrible, a place where something was bound and buried and sealed beneath rock and darkness, with strict orders that it never be uncovered. That book was quoted by the apostles, it was treasured by the first Christians, and then, in the 4th century, it was removed from your Bible. Tonight, we're going to do something simple. First, we read exactly what the Book of Enoch says, the actual words from the oldest translation we have. Then, we look at what scientists keep finding under 2 miles of Antarctic ice. And then you can decide for yourself why no one is allowed to dig there. My name doesn't matter, the text does. This is the Forbidden Testament. The Book of Enoch is old, older than most of the Bible you own. Fragments of it were found among the Dead Sea Scrolls in Cave 4 at Qumran, copies written in Aramaic more than a century before Christ. The Epistle of Jude in your New Testament quotes it word for word. Behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000s of his saints. That's Jude chapter 1, quoting Enoch chapter 1. The earliest church fathers read it. Tertullian called it scripture, and the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, one of the oldest Christian bodies on earth, never stopped. It sits in their Bible to this day. But in the year 364, at the Council of Laodicea, the Church drew up its list of approved books, and Enoch was not on it. Augustine dismissed it. The copies stopped being made, and for over 1,000 years, the Book of Enoch simply vanished from the Western world. It came back because of one stubborn Scotsman. In 1773, an explorer named James Bruce came out of the highlands of Ethiopia carrying 3 complete manuscripts. Scholars at Oxford translated them, and when they did, they found something strange in chapters 18 through 21. Enoch, the great-grandfather of Noah, the man Genesis says, walked with God and was not, for God took him, describes being taken on a journey, not up, not at first, out, to the edge of the world. And what he says he saw there is the reason for this video. Listen to the words. This is the R.H. Charles translation, public, verifiable, over a century old. Chapter 18. I proceeded to where things were chaotic, and I saw there something horrible. Enoch is standing at what he calls the ends of the earth. The angel Uriel is beside him, and Uriel, the text tells us, is the angel God set over the world, and over Tartarus, the deep prison. I saw 7 stars like great burning mountains. Stars, but not lights in the sky. These stars have bodies. They lie on the ground like mountain ranges, vast, burning, and bound. And Enoch asks the question you would ask. What is this place? Uriel answers, this place is the end of heaven and earth. This has become a prison for the stars and the host of heaven. A prison, that's the word in the text. And then Uriel explains the sentence. The stars which transgressed the commandment of the Lord are bound here. Quote, till 10,000 years, the time entailed by their sins, are consummated. 10,000 years, hold that number. But it's chapter 10 that gives us the detail that matters most. Because when the leader of the fallen ones, a being the text calls Azazel, is condemned, God's instructions are specific. Listen to how specific. The Lord said to Raphael, "Bind Azazel hand and foot and cast him into the darkness. Make an opening in the desert, which is in Dudael, and cast him therein, and place upon him rough and jagged rocks, and cover him with darkness. Let him abide there forever, and cover his face, that he may not see light." Read that again slowly. Bind him, make an opening in the earth, cast him in, pile rock on top, seal it in darkness, cover his face. That is not a metaphor for exile. That is a burial procedure. And the rest of his host? Chapter 10, verse 12. Bound in the valleys of the earth for 70 generations, until the judgment. And before you dismiss this as one strange book, the New Testament repeats it. 2 Peter. God cast them down to Tartarus and delivered them into chains of darkness. Jude. The angels which kept not their first estate, he hath reserved in everlasting chains under darkness. Under darkness. The apostles believed something was buried. The only question the text leaves open is where. For centuries, readers assumed Dudael was a desert near Jerusalem, but Enoch's own geography argues against it. He says this prison stands where heaven and earth end, a place no bird could reach, beyond a region of darkness and cold, where he saw, his words, neither a heaven above, nor a firmly founded earth. A wasteland at the absolute limit of the world. Now, let me tell you what sits at the absolute limit of our world, and what we found when we finally looked under its ice. Antarctica is the coldest, driest, most inaccessible place on this planet. It holds a point called the Pole of Inaccessibility, the spot farthest from any coastline on Earth. Fewer people have stood there than have walked on the Moon's orbit, and for most of history, we knew nothing about what lay beneath the ice. Then, in 1958, a Soviet expedition dragged seismic equipment across the interior and found something impossible: mountains. An entire mountain range the size of the European Alps, peaks near 3,000 meters, buried completely. Not one summit breaks the surface. They're called the Gamburtsev Mountains, and in 2011, the journal Nature confirmed just how strange they are. Sharp, young-looking peaks that by every rule of geology should have eroded flat hundreds of millions of years ago, preserved instead in perfect condition under 2 miles of ice. Scientists openly called them, this is the British Antarctic Survey's word, an enigma. A mountain range that the ice sealed before time could touch it. Then it got stranger. Beneath Vostok station, radar found a body of liquid water the size of Lake Ontario, Lake Vostok, buried under 4 kilometers of ice, cut off from the rest of the world for something like 15 million years. In February 2012, after 2 decades of drilling, a Russian team finally broke through to it. And in the accretion ice, the frozen lake water they pulled back up, researchers reported DNA from thousands of organisms. Published, peer-reviewed, PLOS One, 2013. Some sequences matched nothing well, hints of life that had been evolving alone, in blackness, under the weight of a continent since before humanity existed. A sealed world, under the sealed continent. And then there are the signals. Between 2016 and 2018, a NASA balloon experiment called ANITA, flying high above the ice to catch cosmic rays coming down from space, recorded something it was never designed to see. Radio pulses that appeared to be coming up, out of the ice, out of the Earth itself. Physicists have spent years on those events, Follow-up observatories searched and found nothing to confirm the easy explanations. To this day, the anomalies sit in the literature. Physical review letters, not a tabloid, described in careful academic language that amounts to, "We do not know what this was." Signals from beneath, mountains sealed before their time, a living darkness 15 million years old. Every one of these is a real, documented discovery, and every one of them sits at the ends of the Earth. In 1946, the United States launched Operation High Jump, the largest Antarctic expedition in human history. 13 ships, aircraft carriers, 4,700 men under Admiral Richard Byrd. Officially, training and mapping. It was planned for 6 to 8 months. It came home early. 13 years later, the same superpowers who could not agree on Berlin, on Korea, on anything, agreed completely about one empty continent, the Antarctic Treaty. No weapons, no bases, every station open to inspection by every other nation. And in 1991, the Madrid Protocol went further. Article 7, quote, "Any activity relating to mineral resources shall be prohibited. No drilling into the deep rock, no mining, no exceptions." On paper, the ban can't even be revisited until the year 2048. Now, the official reason is environmental protection, and maybe that's the whole story. 54 nations, many of whom trust each other with nothing, all protecting penguins with perfect unanimity for 65 years. But notice what the treaty actually does. It takes the one place on Earth that matches Enoch's description, the wasteland at the end of the world, the region of darkness and cold, and it makes opening the ground there illegal, permanently, by everyone's agreement. The Book of Enoch says the burial site was never to be uncovered. Cover him with darkness, that he may not see light. And here we are, the only continent on Earth where uncovering things is against the law of all mankind. One more detail. Remember Uriel's sentence, bound for 10,000 years? Scholars who study the text note that Enoch's chronology places the binding before the flood. Run the numbers forward from the era those ancient writers described, and the sentence doesn't expire in some unimaginably distant future. It expires soon, within centuries of our own lifetime. Some readings, within decades of 2048. I'll let that coincidence sit with you. So what do we actually have? Let's be honest with the evidence, because that's what this channel is for. We have a book older than Christianity, quoted by apostles, removed by a council, that describes a prison at the ends of the earth, beings bound under rough and jagged rock, sealed in darkness and cold, at a place where the world itself ends. That text is real. You can read it tonight. We have a continent that answers that description in every particular, and that keeps producing discoveries its own scientists call enigmas. Mountains the ice sealed against time, a living lake in 15-million-year darkness, signals rising from beneath the surface that physics has not explained. And we have the strangest law in human history. Every nation on Earth agreeing, in writing, that on this one landmass, no one digs. Maybe it's all coincidence. Penguins and physics and prudent diplomacy. Or maybe an old man who walked with God, saw the far south of the world before any of us, and told us exactly what was put there, and exactly why it was covered. The Book of Enoch was buried once. It came back. What it describes under the ice is still waiting. If you want to know what these beings actually were, the Watchers, the ones the text says came down on Mount Hermon, whose appearance was so terrible that men fell on their faces, that is the next testament we unseal on this channel. Subscribe so you don't miss it. And tell me below, do you think the treaty is about penguins? Read the sources in the description. Question everything, including me. This has been the Forbidden Testament.